So Odd Man Out is our guest today and the host of the what would you call it? Beautiful, illustrious, the illustrious podcast, the Oddcast. Um, and it's are you still on or were you ever? I think you are on ACR.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, you still
Yep.
are. We are both podcasts on the alternate current radio. I think his podcast gets way more traffic than ours does. However,
I don't know about that.
so because you have like you do like a podcast that people want to listen to, unlike this show, where we are just here, I guess, for our own amusement is all I can figure. But you are like you do a lot of like politics and like meta politics and so forth and so on. How okay, so I guess number one question, how did you get involved with doing that? Because that's like a standard podcast question. And
Right.
then two, um, what is the solution to America? Because I just spent a whole intro to this one saying there is no solution, but maybe you will give us a better solution than
Oh
there is no
man.
solution.
Well, as far as starting the podcast, I'd been interested in politics since just before 9/11, and then when that happened, I got really into it like a lot of people and was like, what's this Democrat versus Republican thing? Because I didn't even know what that was about.
How old
And
were you when this happened? With 9/11?
see, how old was I? I'm 47 now. So how old?
Right.
Oh, don't make me do math, but you can go back now. What's
You'd
that? Has
probably
it
be
been?
like what, 25
Yeah, around
ish?
20. Yeah.
Around 25. Right. So you
Yep.
were a young man who was like, something is up. That why is there an inflated tire wheel on the ground? Or were you? Did you even get into conspiracy at that point?
I did not. Funny thing too, I was in a band at the time. My brother and
Uh-huh.
I had a band for like 10, almost 11 years. It was called The
You have the
Conspiracy.
you have the voice of a person that shot his voice playing in a band. And I mean
Thank
that in a
you.
good way. I mean that in a
Thank
good
you.
way. Yeah.
Yeah, I did. My hearing, my voice, I think some of my
It's
health.
more damaging to be in a band than it is to be in like the military on
It's,
average. The
yeah,
the injuries you can suffer in the military are pretty extreme, including up to death. But almost every pro musician like loses their hearing and their voice by age 42.
oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy. It's
And
there
sometimes
should be
their
workman's
mind.
comp. Yeah, and their mind also,
Uh,
especially if they're in the drugs and sometimes other parts, depending on how many STDs they acquire.
right. Yeah, I managed to kind of slip out of that one, thank God. But yeah, we started the band, we called it The Conspiracy because I guess it was around the time of the, was it the Whitewater? That was Clinton, right? Whitewater.
Yeah.
And so we were hearing that word bantered about on the news, and I looked up this Bible verse because we were looking through the Bible because a lot of bands, like heavy metal bands especially, get their names from the Bible.
Right.
And so we were looking up all these cool names. We weren't like super heavy, but we were like kind of punk, and we
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
mixed in metal too. But anyway, long story short, it was this verse that said, "Do not call conspiracy everything this world calls conspiracy." And I thought that was interesting. I didn't really understand it, but what the heck, we called our band and everybody liked it and we called it that. And, but anyway, long story short, yeah, when 9/11 happened, I got obsessed with politics for some reason. And, yeah, I'd post on social media, when that came about, even on MySpace, I remember posting stuff about politics and people were like, that was before people were doing that, and they were like, what are you talking about? But,
Yeah.
yeah, and then like just one thing led to another, and I got on Instagram about 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago, and this one guy kept telling me, "Man, you need to do a podcast because your posts, I can tell you know a lot more, and just this is not the platform for you. You need something where you can, kind of do something long form." And I was like, I don't have the voice for it. Nobody wants to
That's
hear like another
that's what people
Southerner.
told me too, and that is a polite way of saying go somewhere else so I don't have to look at your stuff.
Yes,
That's what it really is. Is like,
yeah,
hey, don't put this on Facebook or whatever.
right,
Make somewhere where we can ignore you, which is
yeah, I
what they
think
want, and I'm
right.
okay with it.
Yeah, and I know that a lot of people felt that way for sure, especially my family and old friends. But
Yeah.
well,
The
maybe not
fortunate
my
thing is
family, but
the fortunate thing is if you make people mad on the internet, here's the truth. Log off for a couple of weeks and everyone will forget you ever existed.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just go away and they'll go on and be mad at something else and completely forget about you.
Yeah.
It's totally fine.
Yeah. And,
I'm sorry.
no, you're fine.
Okay.
But this guy kept telling, he started sending me, I didn't even know this guy and I can't even tell, his name was Subliminal on Instagram.
Oh yeah,
He's not on there.
subliminal. Yeah.
And he's not on there. I don't, as far as I can tell anymore, but,
I think he went away. I think he was assassinated or he just decided to do something worthwhile with his life.
yes, let's hope it was the latter.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you never know, but
You never know.
yeah, he kept telling, he started sending me voice messages and he had this awesome deep voice. And I was like, you, my friend, need to do a podcast. Nobody wants to hear a Southerner do a podcast. They think we're all idiots, and he's like, no, it will make you even more, I forget the word he used, endearing, I think, or something like that. So long story short, I dropped the hammer and did like, I think maybe a 15 or 20-minute podcast. And I think I played background music during the whole thing.
And what year did this happen?
So that was about 3 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
About the time we rolled out this show ish.
Yeah. Maybe just a little bit longer than.
The problem is that we both missed the boat. The golden age to start a podcast was like in 2009.
Oh yeah.
And you could have done it about anything and built up an audience and then just coasted on that for the rest of your life.
Right.
But we were like a decade too late.
Right, exactly. Yeah, because now, suddenly, especially after Trump, there were like 10 billion podcasts, so
right.
Everybody started kind of getting the hang of it. But yeah, man, a few people started listening, but, it wasn't huge at all. Still not huge. But actually, talked to Hesher from Alternate Current Radio. I had been listening to those guys for a while, and I forget how we started talking, but I think it was on Instagram. And eventually he said, would you like to do a podcast? Put your podcast on ACR? And I was like, well, absolutely. And, it took like maybe, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 months, but they put it up there. And it's kind of a cool thing to kind of like meet all these people. I'm sure you can, testify to that. Like, a lot of neat people are in this business, or I wouldn't call it a business, but this hobby, I guess.
Yeah, let's not call it a business. Let's not. This is. I don't know. It's self-deprecation is more than anything.
Right.
Yeah, but it's whatever this is.
I mean, I do it for me, and I think you kind of do the same thing. It's a way for us to kind of express ourselves and just have some fun, and that's why I do it. I know that sounds selfish, but if I'm not doing it, something I like, I'm not going to do it, unless I'm getting paid for it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I do feel like for me, it has been a journey of wisdom, as weird as that sounds. Like when I started the show, I was in a very different place than I am now, where I think that without being too grandiose, I think we really have over the course of these 3 years seen through a lot of the illusions of the quote unquote matrix, and stuff doesn't much bother me anymore, except for the fact that our listeners never contribute money. But the politics stuff, I'm just over. I'm fine with it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's been your experience.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like if you're doing something like this and you get more angry as time goes on, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, I may be doing it wrong.
No, like if you're going the route of Rush Limbaugh, you're just like, then I think that you've missed the point, because the point is this is really what we're doing. Though we can't call it that legally, we're doing therapy. I think everyone can agree.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I'm really thinking when I get up to 200, maybe trying something else, going on a different approach, because my podcast is usually like super serious, and it takes its toll on you, man. It really does, and it's really hard to find the time to do it the way I want to do it, because I really want to research and get stuff out there. I want it to be kind of educational for people. Mm-hmm. But, it takes so much time to pull the notes together, get everything in the right sequence. And then I'm doing my own editing and all that stuff. So it's like, it's very time consuming. And I don't have a co-host, and I'm thinking, you know what? Here lately, I think I need to do something different, and maybe do something like maybe a serious podcast, but not every week. Maybe a once a month kind of thing.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like this is well, I've often when before Smokestack died, God rest his soul. Um, I would often toy with the idea, and the only reason it didn't happen is because he shut it down every time. Was that we should end a season of the show and then come out with a new season. It would be like season 3 or 4 or whatever, and it would just be a completely different show about like it would have the same name, and we would just never acknowledge that the last ever happened. Like it would be a basketball podcast or something, and we just pretend that it had always been that way. And
Mm-hmm.
we would do that for like 100 episodes, and then switch back on season 5 on the next, and then we'd switch back and just not acknowledge that it ever happened. And it would be like really in depth play by play basketball or something like that. I wanted to do that just to sort of mix it up, and also just as a sort of like to throw mud in the face of the listeners. Um, because they really. But as far as to your point, you need to get yourself a co-host. The show would not happen without. It did not happen before without Smokestack, but I had to kill him. I don't know if you're aware of that.
I did not know he died. I had no idea.
I had to torch him on air one day because he was. Well, it is a big story, but we loved him, but we had to kill him, just like a dog that has grown too old. And he was much like a dog that had grown too old. So we had to kill him, and we got a new co-host, and I also have an Australian lady now, a wonderful Australian lady named Tanny, who helps the podcast, and she schedules stuff like with you, and it makes it way more bearable to have help. Like if you're doing it
Awesome.
all on your own, it's impossible.
Yeah. Well, that's good to know. That just it enforces what I think I already know. So cool.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so definitely get yourself some help, and maybe just make the show a completely different thing for a while.
Mm-hmm.
We still may do that. We still just may come out and been like 100 episodes, and it'll be on I don't know, crocheting in ancient Mesopotamia, and it'll just be on that,
I
nothing
love it.
else.
I love it.
And just pretend it never happened. Just never acknowledge it. I even told Smokestack I was this close one day. I was on Fiverr. I was hiring people. There were voice actors. I messaged and even sent money to 2 Hispanic women. And I said, listen, will you just come on and do like 10 episodes for us, about an hour long, about whatever you want, but you just pretend that you're Sumo and Smokestack and never acknowledge that you're not. And talk for an hour and a half, 10 times in Spanish to each other about whatever you wish, and we'll put that out as the podcast just to throw mud in the face of our listeners. And that
That's
only
great.
didn't happen because Smokestack said we can't do that. That would be upsetting. But now he's gone, and so maybe it will happen.
Yeah, I
But
love it.
okay. So you said you may feel like you're doing it wrong. What is have you gotten in a mentally better place or a worse place over the past, let's say, 3 years, the life of the podcast? Where did you start and where did you end?
Well, when I started, so I think I knew that there was a lot of things wrong with the world, and I was concerned. But now a little over 3 years in, it's like I feel like the rabbit hole just keeps getting deeper and darker. And I hate to say it because there for a while I was trying to keep an upbeat kind of mentality, but I kind of got blackpilled at some point, and and I'm like, oh man, we're so screwed. Because you know how it is. It's like once you learn about a certain thing that a lot of people don't know about, you realize, oh my gosh, there's no way these people could ever catch up because you're passionate about it and you want to learn and find out things, whatever it might be. And I kind of feel that way about geopolitics, politics in general, and I don't really do current events that much. Like I really don't. I don't like Hesher and people like that are great at it. I just can't keep up because it's everything's happening so fast now. It's insane.
Yeah.
I don't see how people do it, but I do mostly.
They lose their minds is how they do it.
Yeah, yeah,
Just
yes, I
yeah.
think, yeah, definitely, it will definitely get to you. And but then again, doing this historical stuff that I've been doing, it's really gotten really dark, and it takes its toll on me, man. It gets depressing, but I have a lot of people, not a lot, but people that listen, that are very encouraging, and they're very interested in it, and they spread the word and different things like that. So that gives me the kind of that makes me want to continue it, because of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a kind of I guess you'd say, a double edged sword. On one hand, I really want to do it, and I feel like I'm helping at least a small amount of people. But on the other hand, it takes its toll on you.
Yeah, like it is I did a post on my Substack not too long ago, matsumoto.substack.com. People can look it up, the thing. It is about it was called Sales Pitch Nothing Matters. And it was about how so much of like the narrative of our lives that we're given historically, culturally, religiously, it's just made up. And once you sort of see that, you can't unsee it. And then how do you proceed from there? Is the trick. Because you can easily fall into like a sort of nihilism and never get out.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
and I don't know what kind of give me some specifics about the dark places that you've uncovered and found down there in the dredges of
Well, do you put this
Podcastville.
on? Do you put this on YouTube? You probably
I do not put it on YouTube because we are
okay,
banned on YouTube,
okay, good. Because
and
I didn't
on
want to.
Instagram, and I would just ban. And I don't even know why. I don't know. I think it's because I may have said at one time that I think it's because I said something about a certain illness
Gotcha.
that people wasn't approved of. That was later. You can say it. You can say it now, and it's fine. I don't know how. Um, Cavi made us an Instagram that was instantaneously banned before we even put any content
Oh
on it. It was
God.
just like we just made it, and it was just like, well, we know you guys, you're banned. And so now we just exist on these other dumb platforms that exist, like Rumble and so forth and so on, and Spotify, which is normal, I guess, and Apple, but no, not on YouTube.
Gotcha. I didn't want to, say anything that might get you
When we have
kicked
the
off.
Hispanic women come on, we will put them on YouTube.
Gotcha. Okay, that sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I say, I've looked into a lot of stuff, like a lot of secret societies and NGOs and different things like that. But I think I kind of feel like I almost made a mistake. Although, on one hand, I'm glad I know, but I started down the Zionist rabbit hole. And the
Uh-huh,
reason I
uh-huh.
started down it is because I found out one of my grandmothers was Jewish, and that my brother and I, we,
That would never cancel it. We've been infiltrated. That's what it's a Jew. He's a
right.
Jew.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm don't worry. I'm a self-hating Jew though. But
No, I'm fine with Jews. I just think it's funny how much Jews come up in conspiracy theory. I know why. I know exactly the event in history that tied them to conspiracy theories forever, which is unfortunate, but it's also sort of comical.
yeah, no,
But
no, definitely.
it's so funny when a person that's into conspiracy theories finds out they're part Jewish. It's
Yeah,
the greatest thing in the world. It happens like every time because I may be part Jewish. I don't know. I don't think so. But I think there's something in a Jewish mind that tends towards, that's why it's in the Old Testament. It's like, hey, don't look too into conspiracies, dummy.
yeah,
It says that in Isaiah because Jewish minds have a tendency to do that. I don't know why. Probably as a survival mechanism because people did tend to conspire to kill them sometimes. And so they had to be on the lookout all the time. And so maybe I am a non-practicing Jew. I forgot it in my lineage, and that's why I have this conspirator. I don't know. I
it
can't
could
prove
be.
that.
It could be. And here's the funny thing: like none of our family, like he and I both didn't grow up around that family, and
Mhm.
so nobody ever mentioned that, and nobody's mentioned it since.
Right.
But we started looking at her last name, and then we started looking into where she lived and stuff like that. And we're like, oh, okay, this is interesting. So anyway, that started getting me
You
really
mean
into.
Grandma Hebrew Berg was Jewish?
Yeah, they hit it very well.
I didn't know. Yeah.
But it got us both, or mainly me, into looking into stuff. And I looked in to some things a long time ago, but I don't know, man. I've done like a 10-part series now on it, and I've got 2 more shows. In fact, one I had almost complete last week, and my computer went haywire, and even the card on my Roadcaster shorted out. So I'm like, man,
Yeah.
I don't think somebody wants me to get this out. But anyway, yeah, it just started this real drive for me to do these shows about it, and I've tried to take it in a different kind of a different direction than like, you know how it is. Like, it's either people are really anti-Semitic and they just say all kinds of stuff that's really doesn't help the situation. It's mainly just, things about people's physical appearance or being greedy or things like that.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do it in a more like historical way and like really delve into stuff. So I started getting all these books by Jewish authors, and I had no idea what I was going to uncover. But anyway, I'll just say it like this. It's insane. It's a never ending, like once you start to look into it and you start looking into the last names and different things like that, and then you start looking into the presidential administrations, and then you're like, oh my God, I didn't know they were, Jewish. And
Yeah.
you just all of a sudden realize, oh my God, this is a small, tiny amount of people, like a 2%. I think it's like 2% in America or something like that. Very small. And the power they wield is insane. So, it's just been kind of dark because you continue to find things that you wish you had never found, basically. That's all.
Well, let me help you with this, because this is what I've sort of leaned about, because this is the problem. Conspiracy people get into something and then they discover, and this is just a lot of the things that people think are conspiracies, and you can believe they're conspiracies or not. You can think it doesn't matter. The things that people believe are conspiracies, for whatever reason, have a lot of people which are apparently Jewish in them. That's just a fact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is very
but
true.
What I have come to sort of see is that is sort of a mirage on 2 counts, right? And it's like there is this weird cult that goes around. It has Jews in it, it has Muslims in it, and it has Christians. It's like an Abrahamic cult, which is trying to bring about their Zionism is driven by their attempts to bring about the end of the world, because Jews and Christians and Muslims, although they have 3 different eschatologies about the end of the world, they kind of meet in that they all sort of think there has to be a temple in Jerusalem again for this to happen, sort of. And because the Muslims think Jesus will come back too. They just think he's not God. And the Christians think Jesus will come back after this happens. And the Jews think the Messiah will return, or at least some of them. And so there's this weird cult of like trying to kickstart the end of times, which is weird.
Yeah, it's weird. And like, as far as the Christian thing, like the evangelicals, they push now this third temple, and that was not even a thing. I've done that whole rabbit hole too, until about 120 years ago, when this guy Schofield started putting these reference notes in the King James Bible.
Yeah, the Schofield Bible.
And that was they were the minority, the people they call, dispensationalists. That was a minority. And now, thanks to like Tim LaHaye's Left Behind series and those kinds of, like Hal Lindsey and these guys they kind of made prophecy into kind of like almost like an entertainment. They kind of sci-fi type of thing, and they made it popular. And so now the majority of evangelicals push this third temple thing, but that's not biblical, if you actually look into it.
But there's this weird cult that believes it and is trying to make it happen.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And that's the thing. There's Muslims that also do that in a weird way, and Jews. But so my point was, when you start this will lead a lot of people down the road of like, thinking Jews are out to get them. But what I tend to believe is that there is, like I said, there's this weird cult. I call them Luciferians, and a lot of them, they really do just call themselves Jews so that if you talk about them, they can go, you're anti-Semitic. But they are not Jews, they just pretend to be like that. Like I don't think. I don't know who to say exactly because it's hard to say who specifically, but a lot of these like people that people suspect of doing really evil things, I think that their Judaism is just made up. I think that they're using the Jews as a liability shield, as like a scapegoat. They're saying, oh, they're just putting on a front and being like, and I think that's why it's so prevalent. I think
Yeah.
that a lot of them are saying like, listen, and then, because then what'll happen is instead of blaming the bad people then turn their attention towards the Jews, quote unquote. And so they get off scot-free. And so I think that's why I've said that blaming it on the Jews is actually falling for the trick, because it like they want you to think, oh, it's a Jewish conspiracy, and then you get mad at the Jews, and it's really just like 100 or so people who are using this title to pretend to be something they're not. And
Well, yeah,
yeah,
it's
go ahead.
like back in the day, way back originally, Judaism, which I don't think was even mentioned as far as like an actual term until the Old Testament, about halfway through the Old Testament.
Yeah, it was the
But
Israelites before then, and then somewhere along the line they get the name Jew.
yeah, from supposedly Judah, so, but anyway, like, that just meant your religion. And now it's like, it means religion, it means ethnicity. It's kind of a blurred line. So you can't, you're not really supposed to talk about anybody who's either one of those. And you've got like, in the States anyway, you've got the Ashkenazi Jews, which is weird. It's weird to me that it's actually spelled Nazi there on the end. Uh, that just
Yeah,
blew my mind. But I think that's like 90% of the Jews here in America, and that's mostly the ones you're going to see in politics and like BlackRock and Blackstone and all that, the heads of it or whatever. But they've done recent DNA studies in the last few years, and they've proved that the Ashkenazis, actually 80% of those, their lineage goes back to Eastern Europe. So they're not really, the Jews of ancient Israel. But you've got the Sephardic who are, and they don't have as much power, but there are some very, influential Sephardic rabbis and business leaders too, but they're nothing like the Ashkenazi. A lot of people say the Ashkenazi are the Khazarians, which that's a whole nother rabbit hole, but it kind of leads back to what you were saying. A lot of people believe that the Ashkenazi, at some point, the Khazarians became Jews. And that's kind of, that used to be considered conspiracy. And now it's pretty much provable by certain scholars and different people like that. And
yeah.
that
There's a
kind
fair
of,
amount of evidence. It's still disputable. It's not like slam dunk evidence, but there's a fair amount of evidence that at some point the people that inhabited the Khazarian Empire mass converted to Judaism,
mhm,
and so
yeah,
they don't have an ethnic, which is why they're all white people and not Middle
right,
Eastern.
right.
They don't have an ethnic connection to Judaism, and also why they have two different sort of backgrounds and therefore two different sort of goals, and that's why there's so much conflict between the Jews that actually live in Israel and like the diaspora, quote unquote, the diaspora. They really
Yeah,
have two
yeah,
different sets of politics, and they're often like Jews, like people that are quote unquote Jews, and it is such a weird term because it's like, is it people that live in Israel? Is it people of a ethnic heritage? Is it religious? Is it a religion? Do you have to be all three? You can just be one.
yeah,
Um, but people who call it, they often like are really like, what are the Israelis doing? They're being crazy, and the Israelis are like, get out of our business.
yeah.
It's this crazy mixed up. The it's so impossible to follow.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's partially purposeful too, because I mean, it's so
Yeah,
hard to learn that it's hard to learn the truth, you really got to put the time in. And I was actually able to find some of the best books by Hebrew University professors that kind of like told the clear story. And one is this guy Israel Shahak, who passed away a few years ago, but he was, again, a professor at Hebrew University, and he did several books, and he's got a great writing style. but anyone can read it. You don't have to be scholarly or anything like that. But I would just recommend if anyone is interested in this, look up his books because he explains everything from ancient Israel to present time, or close to the present time anyway. So it's great to find those authors who are not talking about conspiracy. You know, they're like backing up everything they say with footnotes and different things like that, and not making insane claims. Which I like some of that stuff too. Don't get me wrong, but it's refreshing to find some stuff that's pretty clear and you can prove it.
Yeah, like I don't know where you fall on it, but like with all the like I said, I think the clearest thing about I think there is a Luciferian cult, broadly termed the Illuminati, which does a lot of things. And one of the things they do is they hide behind the name of Jews, though they are not Jews. And I think there's only a couple of hundred of them. And then they try to get it so that if you notice what they're doing, they say you're blaming Jews, but you're really not. And so a lot of people fall for this trap and start getting mad at Jews when really it's like a couple of hundred people doing evil stuff and and like hiding behind this name.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what
Yeah,
I think. And that's why I tell people don't get mad at Jews. Don't do it. Don't be fine with it. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Everyone's because that is a huge thing that conspiracy people can fall down into is like various hate rabbit holes. And I'm
yeah,
not like saying this as like a progressive person like don't but like hate is actually bad. And
sure, yeah,
and when you find yourself like and but the thing is, I think they make it so that you're confused into being angry at people. Like whether
yeah,
that's black people or Mexicans or like the system is designed to like churn up anger and hatred and funnel it at anyone but the people that are the problem, which are like
yeah,
the people making these decisions in places of power, you know?
yeah,
And it's like uh, it's so crazy, but the links they have gone to, and they do this also. It's not just they don't just hide behind the name of Jew. They hide behind the name of Catholic. Like there's a lot of people get into the Vatican who had do not believe in God at all, and
sure,
they
yeah,
just want to wreak havoc and use it as a political thing. And they do that with Jews. I would imagine that happens in the Saudi countries and like with Islam. They just get in these positions and they hide behind some title or name and then say, well, if you can't come at me because I'm this thing. And then that is like, and if you do start coming at them, they can redirect your anger at the group more broadly, and then they just
mm,
walk away. It's
yeah,
like classic
yeah,
manipulator behavior.
oh yeah, for sure, yeah. Yeah, you've got to be really clever to talk about this kind of stuff. I've really not gotten that much negative feedback like I
Mm-hmm.
thought I would, because I've tried to approach it in a different way than I've heard anybody else approach it, because it seems like people are one extreme to the other on it, and I'm trying to be like, okay, well,
Right.
here's the information that I've gathered from these Hebrew, mostly Jewish professors and authors, and take take it for what it is. If you want to continue to research it for yourself, then here's the authors' names and that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's really it's
The,
wild because kind of like what you're saying with it is a fairly small amount of people. But one thing I've noticed is they're extremely loyal to each other. It maybe not so much loyal to each other, but they have a couple of goals that are the same, so they stick together. And
well, that's the purpose of things like Epstein Island is to create a system of mutual blackmail wherein no one can get out without having their life destroyed.
right, exactly,
It's like
exactly.
if you leave, we will crush you. And they get mutual blackmail on each other and these, and like I said, I think their actual religion is Luciferianism. I think that is the and I think that they just take whatever title is most useful to hide behind.
Yeah,
And if that's Jew, they'll claim to be Jews. If they were black skinned, they would try to hide behind that, but most of them aren't black skinned.
yeah,
And they but that like the like you were saying, the people go to the extremes. It's crazy. You have to be able to talk about Jewish people like you would anyone else. Like they're
hmm,
not
yeah,
immune to criticism, which is where people jump to the other side. Like, well, you can't talk about like no, Israel, the state, does some shady stuff to Arabs. I
yeah,
don't think
yeah,
that's crazy to say. That's not me hating the Jews, but people are like, oh, you just no, like the state of Israel does some pretty shady stuff. because they're normal people like every other group of people that does good things and does bad things, you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
And when you have them in this category of like, you can't, yeah, the trap of being like, oh, you fall into hating them, or like there's special secret people that can never do no wrong, and if you say they do, you're bad.
Yeah.
Both of those
Yeah.
are crazy.
Right.
But this gets in this dialectic, and I think it's driven by that, like you say, a couple of hundred people at the that are like manipulating the media or whatever to try and get these like spells on people so that they can't think clearly.
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing that I've been trying to tell people too is a lot of the propaganda coming out of these people who call themselves Jews, you know, the powerful, influential ones. The problem.
Oh, hold on. Um, hello. I
I
think
don't know
you
what
muted.
I don't
I
know what
think you muted.
happened. I'm
Say you
sorry.
started to speak and you got muted.
That's weird. I wasn't even touching anything. That's crazy. Oh man.
I may
Uh,
have done that on accident. I pressed some keys. I pressed some keys, and I may have. I don't know
oh
what
no,
I pressed.
you're fine. No, what I was going to say was I've noticed, and I try to tell people, the propaganda is not just, and the divisiveness, it's not just aimed towards non-Jews for a reason for these people who are powerful to become more powerful, stay powerful, get more, you know, and get more money, different things like that. It's also meant to keep their people, you know, average Jews and Israelis in check because they got to keep them fearful and they got to
Yes,
keep them on the edge thinking the world's out to get them because
yes.
that
That's
allows them to
oh,
control them, you know, and I try to get that through
it's
to
a hundred
people.
percent. Like the people doing this stuff, they feed both sides. They say you hate the Jews, and then they go to the Jews and say everyone hates you. Be afraid, and you have to do more extreme things to protect yourself. And it's these they are playing both sides and manipulating people. They do this with black and white. They do this with Jew and non-Jew. They do this with, I don't know, Asians and whoever. It's this classic divide and conquer scheme. And
Yeah.
that is the bread and butter of I call them the Illuminati. I don't know what they call themselves. There is some shadowy group of people that run around doing things like Epstein's Island and with Jimmy Savile, doing and at Bohemian Grove or whatever, that have this weird, crazy religion that involves like these crazy rituals, and they get together, and a lot of them are in positions of government,
Mhm.
and they their bread and butter is playing people against each other in this way.
Yeah.
And like the way one of the ways that's propagated is to have these things where like you can't talk about people because then it means you hate them. And it's like that's crazy. Of course, you know, of course, some Jews do bad things. Some white people do bad things. That's like a norm. But people are like, "Oh, you said something bad about a Jewish person. That means you're anti-Semitic." That's insane. You know?
Yeah, and I saw tonight that the biggest ever convention or whatever you want to call it by the ADL is in, I think it was this weekend in New York. And you see people like DeSantis and I think even Trump signing new non-anti-Semitic, I don't know, laws or something, you know, and they're trying to, you know, I think they changed what anti-Semitism officially means maybe like 2 years ago. It's just really strange, you know. I think they are trying to push where you're not allowed to critique people whatsoever, and that, of course, that's dangerous because if you can't critique people in power, then you're basically saying, okay, I'm fine with these people ruling over me and doing what they want to me, and I think that
Yeah,
should be
they
that
are
should scare
setting the
even.
Jews up for attack, is what they're doing. Which is why it's important. Like they're setting it up so that they appear to be the bad guy because you're like, oh, you can't criticize them, and that makes it look like they're because the Jews, that being a chosen people, like if you believe in the Bible, is not like a great thing. That means you were chosen to be like the scapegoat, you know, like
Mhm.
that's like what Jesus is, the chosen lamb, the person that gets all the blame. And so like it's easy to do that with the Jews, and they set them up for that all the time, over and over again. And that doesn't mean that the Jews have always been totally innocent of everything throughout history. I'm not simping for the Jews, but I'm just saying when people, it is very easy to do that because of this outside group. And I think like when Trump and DeSantis do that, they're not helping the Jews. They're setting them up to appear to be a problem that they are not. And they are
Mhm.
setting them up for future hatred. And
Yeah.
that's the dangerous thing. You have to be
It,
able to, if you're like, oh, you can't talk about them, that makes people think that they are somehow in control, and they aren't. It's like this. In some ways, it's a bunch. It's these Luciferians, some of who claim to be Jews, and it's these other people like Trump and DeSantis, and I don't know what
it,
binds them is this weird Masonic rituals. I don't know about the other stuff, but
it's weird too because you look at I try to look at these organizations and they're literally, I'm not even kidding, hundreds and hundreds of these organizations that are kind of dedicated to the betterment of Israel and the betterment of Jews, like globally, but mainly here in the United States, UK, and in Israel. And they take in a ton of money. But there's one in particular. It's the Zionist Organization of America, and these guys, it's almost funny. Nearly everybody all the main people who served in Trump's administration have either went there and given speeches or received awards. And even Kevin McCarthy, who wasn't in Trump's administration, but he's one of the main Republicans. I'm talking Pompeo, Bolton, Bannon, um, several other people that was in his administration. And it's kind of funny because it's like when you see something like that, now the average person probably would never even see it because it's not like they advertise it on TV or something. But this is a organization solely dedicated to the betterment of another country, and you've got your president receiving awards, and stuff like that. It's so strange to me because
yeah, why does every president have to go kiss the Western Wall? That's
yeah,
wild. Why
yeah.
do they do that?
And if you
You
look
know?
up, yeah, and if you look up APAC, which is like the biggest Israeli lobby, they get the top people from both the Democrat and Republican parties to come over there and give speeches. So it's really interesting because they do have a lot of influence, and nobody else has that influence, like them. It's just really strange. But, if you say anything, you can get in a lot of trouble. And
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think it's this crazy. There is this push. It goes beyond like establishing greater Israel. It's like there's this crazy push to try and bring about the end of the world and fulfill these what they perceive to be their interpretations of these prophecies in these various books. And that's why, that's as near as I can tell, that's why Israel figures so big in geopolitics, and why they have all these. It's this crazy. It's insane. But I don't know. I don't know what to. I don't know. I just want to tell. Like, I think the thing to do is to break the spell of like, no, you can point out when you're if a bunch of people from your leadership of your country is hyper concerned with some other country and its betterment, you should be able to ask why. And it's not weird. If everyone was being like, hey, all of our elected officials go to Botswana and pay
right,
homage to this temple there, you'd be like, why? And they do the same thing with, but everyone's just like, oh yeah, every president goes to the Western Wall and kisses it. Why?
right, right,
And
right.
honestly, it's mostly Republican presidents that do that because they're funded by evangelicals in a lot of ways, and they believe a lot of them have this weird belief in I think a biblical belief. It's definitely a recent belief. Maybe they're right. I don't know. In like, this is how you need to bring about Jesus's return. I don't know, but
Yeah, and it's a funny thing too. I've looked into. There's pretty good evidence that the Wailing Wall was an old Roman fort, but
yeah, I'm not convinced the Wailing Wall is actually the temple thing.
but
And
yeah,
people are like,
but
oh, that's anti-Semitic. No, it's not. I don't think it just, I don't know. Maybe it is,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, yeah. It's interesting. It kind of feels like some things may be coming to a head. With maybe this next presidency. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say, but it's obvious to me that there's, and maybe this is not even the Jews, but like the WEF or whoever. We're in a time of change. They're wanting to change things. They want to change monetary things. They want to change social issues, social things, and stuff like that. And it's just kind of a weird time to be alive. It's like just when you think things can't get any crazier, they seem to always do.
Yeah. Like, I was trying to find a list of presidents Western Wall. It's crazy how many, like, here's Bill Clinton at the Western Wall. Here's Bush Senior, Trump, Obama, Jared Kushner, Bolsonaro. Like, what is going on that they all feel the need to go put their hand in this one crack in the Western Wall?
Yeah,
It's just a weird behavior. Like, what does that have to do with America, which is what we're supposed to be here about, right? With,
right. Yeah.
you know, the
Yeah,
UN
and it's
ambassador is there. I mean, the UN Macron is there with his yarmulke on, touching the same crack in the same wall. You know, DeSantis is there. Why? Like, you can find photos of all of these people. Why? You know,
yeah.
that's a valid question, and people act like it's anti-Semitic to ask why is this? Why do we have this weird obsession with this foreign country?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really strange. It's I never really realized because I grew up in and I do consider myself a Christian, but I'm a bad Christian, admittedly, and
Uh-huh.
I'm honest about that. I just try to kind of, I see what Jesus did, and I'm like, okay, I need to try to be a lot more like that. I'm not a lot of times, but I try to be open about it. I'm not trying to like act like I'm better than anybody or, holier than thou or anything like that. But yeah, I grew up in a household where we just kind of took it for granted. You always, defend Israel always, and we never had talks about it. It was just a thing that you did, and
Yeah, and
I,
that's. I mean, I understand that. I also grew up in sort of that environment. And it's because of that Schofield Bible thing. They put these footnotes in there that people are like, "Oh, that's what this means." It's probably not what that means, but it's crazy to have a position where you always defend another. Like, maybe what if they're doing bad?
right,
Defend them if they're doing good, yeah. But what if
yeah,
they're doing bad? And sometimes Israel does bad. And
yeah,
it's not that's just because they're human beings that are regular like other people that also do bad things sometimes. They don't de facto get defense,
right, right.
but they want you to have this position where you think any criticism is somehow bad. And that is dehumanizing to them. Like,
Yeah,
that is dehumanizing.
yeah, and it's like you said earlier. It can really start to build up resentment, and at a later date cause a lot of
Yeah,
trouble
and
for.
see, because that's what I think exactly what they want. Because if this blows up in their faces, they being the Illuminati people, the Luciferians, then they redirect all the anger at the Jews. People have a field day getting out their anger on the Jews again, and then they walk away scot free. The people that are actually guilty walk away scot free. That's what it's this tired old playbook. And I try to tell the Jews that are actually Jews, stop defending, don't fall into the fear trap they're feeding you, because you feed it's a recurring cycle. Like, if you were like, oh, they are gonna get me, then you act in ways that are weird and suspicious, right? Because you're like,
Mhm.
oh, they may get me. And then that makes people more suspicious of you, and you act that way because these people in the media are telling you they're out to get you all the time when they aren't. But if everyone starts acting like they are, eventually they start to. It's this, bizarrely, this podcast is one of the few places that actually defends the Jews and tries to keep them from harm, because I try to simply treat them like normal people that aren't special, you know.
Right.
But
Yeah. Well, I tell you something weird that I've learned recently that, well, I guess it was last year, but yeah, I started looking into the political parties over there because, all we know is basically Netanyahu or whoever's the
oh,
PM over there.
Israeli politics is insane.
It really
It
is.
is so crazy. Like, every other party over there is some crazy thing that thinks that they are going to bring the Messiah
Yeah.
if they do this, like, because they don't believe the Messiah was Jesus, but and they're really getting antsy for their Messiah, because if it wasn't Jesus, they've been promised a Messiah for a long time, ain't come. And
Right.
so they're like, if this religion is going to work out and be true, the Messiah's got to show up. And so, there's all these parties, these crazy ideas about this guy's the Messiah, that guy's if we do this, if we have a red heifer, but it can't have one hair that's not red on it. And it's just insane. Like, it's so crazy. And then you've got a lot of them that are like, yeah, well, we believe in the Messiah thing, but also we really want everyone to be gay.
Yeah.
And then this other party that's like, well, we don't really care about either of that. We just really, really hate Arabs. And
Yeah.
it's like you do whatever you want as long as you let me shoot an Arab. You know,
Right.
it's like,
Right.
it's so
It's
insane. It's
yeah, it's so
Israel.
wild. I
Israel is not even this. Israel, people that get worried about Israel, Israel is barely hanging on. It is
Yeah, it's
so, it could break at any day. It's so discombobulated and like it's, but what, yeah, go ahead. You were talking about Israeli politics.
no. I was just, I was looking, I went back to like how, the modern state was formed and looked at all who started it, the Zionists, and then the different factions of the
It was
Zionists.
kind of
And
started by Hitler.
yeah, well, yeah,
It
kind
was a
of.
little started by Hitler. That's the crazy thing. Modern Israel was kind of started by Hitler. He he moved a lot of the Jews from Germany before the whole, camp thing. He
Hmm.
just moved them in mass to that area, and then then because they were already there, like as a result of the whole treaty and the post, they just were like, okay, well, I guess you have that country now. And then the Arabs were like, wait, we lived here.
Yeah,
But modern
but
Israel kind of was started by Hitler in a bizarre irony.
yeah, he was definitely responsible for getting more people over there, like the
He
most that
got
had
so
been over
many
there.
Jews. He got so many Ashkenazi Jews of European, like white Jews,
Yeah.
into what is modern day Israel. And that was a problem because, as we said, those, whether they came from that same ethnic line or not, doesn't really matter. They lived far enough away for such a long time. They had a totally different culture. And they put there and like, well, we're Jews too. And the Jews that were there were like, you don't sound or look like us or have the same beliefs. And like, whatever. And then they're just these warring factions, each claiming that it's insanity.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I found out, like, since January, there's been a lot of unrest because the new government took over. And I wanted to understand why, because I've heard people say, well, it's just because they want to get back to a conservative government and the liberals over there hate that. And I was like, there's got to be more to it than that.
That's not
So,
even, that is such an evangelical
yeah.
projection of what they believe should be happening.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure.
That is like so many, like Israeli society is in no way traditional or conservative,
No, no. It's
except
majority. Yeah, but
except in the fact that they kind of crazily believe in a 6,000-year-old prophecy of a Messiah that hasn't yet come. And so that they are traditional, but everything else about it, they're progressive. And also they some of them like a little bit of genocide.
right. Yes.
This is also
Yeah.
sort of traditional, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah. Yeah, and I realized that Netanyahu's party is the Likud party, and the Likud party goes back to this guy named Vladimir Jabotinsky, and he was really interesting.
It's a very Hebraic name, Vladimir. Doesn't
Yeah,
everyone know he must be?
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
and he was infatuated with not Hitler but Mussolini. He was his troops. He had these troops called the Beitar. They even called him Little Hitler or Little Mussolini sometimes.
I know.
So,
The Israeli, they were sort of in the fascist party.
yeah.
None of it makes any sense, and it's totally at odds with what the story we're given.
Oh yeah, yeah. And you try to
like,
tell people. I've tried to talk to people about that. They think I'm insane, but I'm
and
like,
I'm
no.
not
There was this.
defending Hitler. I don't think Hitler was good.
No,
Right?
no, not
I
at
don't,
all.
and I don't. I'm not denying the Holocaust or any crazy thing. I'm just saying that a lot of the people that were in the Israel or what became the Israel, had, for some crazy reason, sympathy for fascist government, and and maybe because they also wanted a little bit of a genocide on the Arabs that were there that they didn't like. I don't know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but
I think that probably has something to do with it. Yeah.
they definitely don't like Arabs. Not all of them, but there's definitely wings of the modern Israeli government which super don't like an Arab.
Yeah, that kind of leads me back to what I was going to say. So now this new government, you have the Likud party, which is Netanyahu's party. They have merged with this party called the Jewish Power Party. I can't remember the name in Hebrew, but it stands for Jewish Power. And this one guy who's like one of the main guys in the party, I'm blanking on his name now. I think is Itamar Ben something. Anyway, he's hated by the liberals and most of the people because he's a true fanatic. He said horrible things about Arabs and Americans and all the Christians, you name it.
Yeah.
And so, they merged those two parties, and these guys are
Oh, that's the other thing.
hardcore.
I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, but that's the
No,
evangelical Christians, the actual conservatives in the right wing Jews in Israel mostly hate you and want you to die. They
yes,
hate
that's
Christianity. They
100% true.
despise it. The liberal Jews in there are the ones that are accepting of you. And the only reason you can go visit there and go to Mount Calvary without getting shot. The
Right.
conservative Jews hate Christianity. Like
Oh
not, and
yeah.
that's not even the conservative, like because you have the ones the right wing conservative parties in Israel often really dislike Christianity.
Yes.
Like they
Yeah, that's
despise it.
true. They say, that it's if you believe in Jesus, that to them is idol worship, and the Talmud calls for death of idol worshipers,
Yeah,
and they
right.
follow the Talmud. It's like I try to explain to people, it's like Sharia law. It's very similar the way they believe to Sharia law with radical Muslims, and people can't. It like there's the Noahide laws, right?
Yeah.
So they're trying to reinstate these Noahide laws, and they're like hundreds of them, and there's sub laws and all this stuff. And what's really weird is people like George H.W. Bush. He assigned this day, and it's under an education bill, but I forget the date every year, and it's to honor this rabbi, Rabbi Sneerson, who was this Orthodox rabbi of the Chabad sect, which is like a Orthodox, pretty right wing, hardcore, fundamentalist, and Jared Kushner actually is a Chabad devotee, oddly enough.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
anyway, long story short, so so the Noahide laws are also written in this day, and they say, well, it's not binding, but then I think Reagan had also signed something, and then you start looking at it, and there's several governors as of recent have signed things, and again not binding, but they're respecting these Noahide laws. And it's funny because there's 7 Noahide laws for the non-Jews, and to break each one of these laws, and most of these laws are good laws. We already have them on the books for the most part, except for maybe idolatry. And all these laws
Mhm.
call for capital punishment. And so if you see these kinds of things and you're like, what in the hell are these people? What are our, elected officials doing, even having anything to do with these no hide laws?
Yeah,
Really
it's
strange.
yeah, like the I think that the average like evangelical American thinks that like in Israel there's a bunch of like Southern Baptists, they just have a menorah, and that's
Yeah. Yeah.
so not the case. They like they either are like the most progressive people you've ever imagined. Like Tel Aviv is one of the gayest places in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's not even like a that's I think that's statistically true. I like the most LGBT identifying people in the world per capita, I think, is Tel Aviv. If it's not, it's close.
Yeah. It's like
And then
22 or 25%. The last time I looked.
yeah, like 1 in 4 people in this city is like I'm a gay person or trans or something. So that's a lot. And then that's definitely not Baptist conservative. And then the other ones are like so Jewish they think that Jesus was a demon. Right. And
Right.
that
Right.
is not, see, my point is, that is not actually what Jews in America believe or in Europe. Most Jews in America that you meet are normal people who are fine, but people like the part of the spell is to tie all this craziness up with normal people and get you to hate them just because. And that's what people have to be smart enough to not fall into
Yeah.
because
For
not
sure.
it's not this, but it is this wild. I was gonna say something else about Israeli politics, but I forget what it was. I don't know. Continue.
Oh no, no. It is like such a layered subject, and it's kind of like I find it very interesting because, like we were saying earlier, the average people have no clue. They have no clue about not only the politics but the religion too. Because, like you're saying, average Christians, they have this kind of Pollyanna, kind of romanticized view of what the Jews believe over in Israel, right? And as we were
Yes.
saying, most of the Jews over there are either secular or very liberal. And then you have the Orthodox who are insane and want to kill everybody who doesn't believe like them. So, and
Yeah, there
that
are a
goes.
lot of there are sects of Israeli politics that, if they got power, would tear down the Church of the Nativity, all of the holy sites of Christianity. They would just destroy them because
Yeah,
they just, and they would do it with Islam too, because they just despise those religions, right?
yeah,
They're like,
yeah.
so I don't know where they got this idea.
Well, I was looking at some of the beliefs of these really right wing rabbis, and this is not biblical, but they've twisted it, and they've put this stuff in like the Talmud and the Zohar and their mystical books too. And so they call modern Rome Christianity in the West altogether, they call it Esau or Edom. And those are names,
Yeah, yeah,
from the
yeah.
Bible.
We're Edomites to them, and that
Yes,
is the rejected son of Esau and Jacob. So they got the
exactly.
promise, and we didn't get the promise. And Edom. See, this is the other crazy what I was talking about earlier with Cavi on the intro. People think that people that like people haven't moved around. Edom means red. Esau means red. He was
Hmm.
probably a red-haired guy.
Right.
And also David being ruddy probably meant he had red hair. Like they may have been somewhat white.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so they're like, oh well, the Edomites, and they're out to get us. It's like in the minds of not all Jews, but in the minds of some sects of Judaism that are not small in Israel, and probably some in the diaspora, although less. Um, they think that they are, in their minds, they are playing out in a war that has been raging between Jacob and Esau since the time of the time of Israel in the Bible,
Hmm.
and that
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
two lineages are still fighting, and this is only happening in their heads.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the
Exactly.
rest, like I'm not. We're over here. This is what I mean. They feed them this fear stuff. Like we are, by and large, and that yes, there are some real Nazis that hate them just for being Jews, but by and large, most of what they would call Edomites do not care about they don't think about them at all. They're not in a war, but see, they think that we're locked in some war of extermination
Hmm.
between the two, and only one of these, despite the fact that in the Bible, the last time Jacob and Esau meet, they meet and leave on good terms, which I thought should be the message. Hey,
Right.
we had a disagreement, and now we meet on good terms, and then we part. But they're like, no, 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 we're still fighting Esau. It's
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 wild.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've got up all these audio recordings. I might put it on the next show. I'm not sure, but of these different Orthodox rabbis talking about Esau and Edom and how Edom has to be destroyed so they can have their utopia. And then they say that whoever's left, who is not a part of the tribe, will be slaves, but willing slaves that they will teach Torah to, and blah 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 blah. It's just
Yeah,
really crazy. But they're some of these guys are so bold, but I guess they think that for the most part, this stuff won't get out from their,
no one will care. They are, when you hear them talk, you're like, oh, I see why some of you really were into the fascism, because
yes.
you're look. Here's the thing. It's so crazy. People will call you racist and anti-Semitic for talking about Jews. Okay, there is only one country, to my knowledge, on Earth, definitely only one that the West interacts with regularly, where one of the requirements for like citizenship is a blood examination, like
Yeah.
where you
Yeah.
can get,
Right.
like it is a literal, what are you taught, that you cannot really be more racist than that, right? Like
Exactly.
if
Yeah.
you want to, if you like Israel, there are other ways, but one of the ways you can become is you can prove your blood ancestry of Judaism. And then they're like, and then people, if you talk about Israel, people point at you and go, you're racist. And you say, that is they are an ethnic state which believes that everyone there should be the same ethnicity. Not all of them, there are exceptions, but this is definitely a big strain in there. And they have a people that are Arabs don't get a full vote. It's an apartheid state.
Hmm.
and they are actively seeking to colonize. And then they're like, and you're the bad person. They point around and say, it's like, and you're the bad person for noticing.
Right.
It's
Right.
crazy. Like, no, like
Yeah.
Israel currently right now, not the Jews, but people in Israel right now are currently a little insane, doing crazy stuff and believing crazy things.
Hmm. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It was funny because I posted something on social media the other day. It was something mild. It was something about some law that had been passed in Israel or something. And this guy, I've known him for a while on social media, but we don't know each other, personally, and we've never met, but we've had some good conversations in the past. Well, he goes on there and he says, I think anyone who, I'm paraphrasing, but I think anyone who says something bad about Israel is a real problem or something like that. And
Mm-hmm.
I said, so you don't even trust your own government, but yet you trust a foreign government?
Exactly.
Question mark.
It's so stupid. This is the
Uh,
thing. It's like people are like, well, you're the bad person. Like in Florida, they tried to make it illegal. What was the law DeSantis passed where it was like if you try to boycott a thing from Israel, you can't?
oh yeah, the BDS, yeah, BDS
Yeah.
law, yeah.
Well, you know what I would like to boycott from Israel is a lot of the child sex change drugs, because a lot of those come from Tavistock Pharmaceuticals, which is an Israeli company. And it's like, oh, it's anti-Semitic for me to not want that. Are you sure you want to make the claim that it's anti-Semitic to oppose child sex change surgery? But that's what it
Right,
comes.
right,
That's what it would logically conclude. Like, it's so crazy. Anti-Semitism doesn't even make sense. It's
right, yeah,
Semitic is a language group. It
exactly,
includes
yeah,
Arabic. It includes Arab. Like it's like, so a Jew that hates Arabs is technically anti-Semitic,
right,
right? It doesn't mean Jew. It's a crazy word. It doesn't. This is why all of these things are non. I declare them all non-valid. These ideas of racism, of anti-Semitism, of big, like, they're invalid. They're, don't hate your fellow man, which is everyone that's a human being, man or woman, and don't be unjust to them.
hmm,
There, you don't
right,
have to
right,
fall into all this like crazy identity stuff. Just don't. And if someone's being weird and getting on television and saying, listen, to bring Messiah in, I have to find a heifer with not a single non-red hair on it so I can build the third temple, and then we will bring about utopia with Jesus who doesn't come back. You can say that's weird, and that's a little crazy, and it's not hatred to be like, hey, chill.
hmm,
You know,
right,
this
right.
is the crazy. It's this crazy spell people that have around Jews. And like I said, I think most of it has been promulgated by this weird Illuminati cult because they want to confuse people.
Yeah, it's a real mess. It's like if you're and you think about it in proportion to, well, if you think about it, if it was any other country, you would not
Yeah,
be
just
called. You
just
would not say people would not say you hate A, B, or C. Just because you're critiquing a policy. It's
exactly.
so silly.
Like,
But we put
if I critique a lot of the I would critique a lot of the way war has been waged in the Congo recently. That doesn't mean I hate black people, right?
yeah,
That's so
exactly.
stupid of a position. Like, no, listen, the Congolese war has had a lot of human rights abuses. That doesn't mean I hate black people. And I can say, like, hey, Israel has acted pretty weird. That doesn't mean I hate Jews. And when you
Right.
people try to conflate it, just go, I deny that your premise even makes sense. I don't believe in this weird construct you've made up of anti-Semitism. I just care about, don't hate people. Don't hate your fellow man, and it's okay to say when someone's being weird, whoever they
Yeah.
are. It's, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. What can you do? I mean, it's because the media supports that kind of stuff, and it's just it's kind of like too. It's bipartisan too. I don't know if you've ever seen Cynthia McKinney, who was a representative. I think she was a Democrat at one point, but she said that when you're a new senator, a congressperson, or a representative, a federal representative, you have to sign a pledge saying that you will support Israel, the country, the state, or whatever you want to call it. And I think John Mearsheimer, I forget his co-author, but I believe he is Jewish. He may have passed away now, but he wrote a book about the Israeli lobby and he confirmed that. So it's like, it's just really crazy to think about how our representatives are being asked to support a foreign state, regardless of their party or anything like that. And if you bring
Yeah.
that up and say something, you are like, she was ruined. Like her whole district got switched around where she didn't even have a job any longer when she brought that up. She refused to sign it. So it's really crazy.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, and I don't know what it is. Like I've looked, you probably know more about what it is than me, but it's such a convoluted topic of why that's the case and how that came to be. Um, but yeah, it's a big mess. It's a big mess that because and you can it's obvious that there's some weird and you can people be like, oh, it's conspiracy. It's like Donald Rumsfeld, McCain, Bush, other Bush, Kushner, Trump, Obama, Clinton, other Clinton. I mean, all of them have to make this pilgrimage to the wall, and why? That's
Yeah.
strange.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's okay to ask what's going on. What do you weird people think? And it doesn't mean you dislike Jews to ask the question and to say,
Exactly. Yeah.
is this really necessary? Is this really should this be what we're doing? You know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then I don't know. But it is wild. But um and Macron and DeSantis and pretty much all of the Western leaders at some point do
Yes,
this.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And another
Zelensky's
thing.
there. Zelensky was there. He went to the thing, and they're all like, "Oh, you got to go to the Holocaust Museum." Like, no, I don't. It
Yeah.
doesn't. I get it. I like the Holocaust. Not good. I don't. You may need to because you may want to genocide people. I've never had that desire. I don't need to go and be told that that's bad. You know,
Right.
like if
Right.
you feel like other people need to go, I feel like you're projecting your feelings onto other people. And you're like, oh well, if you don't go to the museum, you may start genociding people. Like, are you a great? Is that's coming out of your head? You
Right.
insane.
Exactly.
Normal people don't need to go to a museum to know genociding is bad.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
And
Yeah. And
also,
it's, oh, go
that's a
ahead.
bit of a misnomer. I don't like these new sins. This new like genocide. The bad part of genocide is the murder. It's not
Right.
extra bad because of who they are. It's
Right.
it's just murder. You didn't need a new category. It's murder. Murder's
Hmm.
bad,
Yeah.
right? And you should
Yeah.
avoid murder. We don't need a new category. It's like racism. Being unjust to someone is the bad part. It doesn't matter for what reason you do it. And so it's like we already have that covered. We don't need these new sins, these new
Yeah.
categories. We've already got it covered. You know
Right.
what to do.
Right. And they never talk about the Armenian genocide. I don't even think they would pass I think it come up that they were going to pass a special day to honor the victims of the Armenian genocide, and it got voted down. And I know from having three kids, they had barely studied what happened under communism, the deaths, and the starvation, different things like that under communism at all. But by God, about every 2 years they would have to read a Holocaust book, a Holocaust related book. And I'm like, this
Yeah,
is really, I mean,
I think it may be related why all the politics is so around Israel because there's this total like guilt thing about the Holocaust. And so people are like, well, now we have to swing the other direction, maybe. But
mhm, yeah,
it's crazy because it's like, no, America stopped the Holocaust.
right.
We don't have to feel guilty about it. We're the people that beat the people doing it.
Yeah,
Like, why would we feel guilty about it? That's crazy.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, like everyone that did it pretty much is dead or very, very old. And then those of us on this side are the ones that we went over there and beat them.
yeah,
You know, so like,
yeah.
why do they feel the need to like? It's a crazy mind spell that people have.
Hmm.
You know, like you did the opposite of facilitate it, right? It's like it's this. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, there's a American Jewish author named Norman Finkelstein, and he's probably far more liberal than me, but some of his information is really interesting. And he wrote this book called The Holocaust Industry. And he, if you ever get a chance to see any of his interviews, are really interesting. But he explained in there, somehow he found out, because his parents were Holocaust survivors, they were barely getting any help or anything like that. He got to like investigating, and there was like millions and millions of dollars worth of money, some from the government, some from these foundations, supposedly going to Holocaust survivors, but was not going to Holocaust survivors. So he spilled the beans and wrote this book about it.
Like so many charities, that stuff is just a racket.
Yeah, exactly.
That stuff is a money laundering racket or something. I don't know. None of that is. Anytime there's so much emotion around a thing where it becomes manipulative, you can guarantee you're being manipulated.
Yes.
Where it's like movie after movie about the Nazis and how bad it's like, that's manipulation. And to call it for what it is doesn't mean you're like a denier or anything. It's like, no, you are using a past event to manipulate me, a person that had nothing to do with it, into feeling bad so that I will do what you want.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And so anytime people are like, well, you should do it because of the Holocaust. It's like, I don't care. Like it's not a thing that I'm involved in. That's your problem if you have a problem with it.
Yeah.
And people use it as such emotional manipulation. And people just have to start like if you get on a thing on the internet, it's like, do you want to have the Holocaust? Another Holocaust? I'm like, I like to point out, my go-to move is to point out, oh, you know how many Russians died in World War II? Like 20 million.
Yeah.
Isn't that more than the 6 million? Why don't we have a Russian Day of Remembrance? They were trying to help you too. They were fighting the Nazis too. It's okay to hate the Russians now, even though they did the most to beat the Nazis and they paid the most price for it. Somehow it's okay to hate them. Like this is all of these things are just narratives which are insane. Don't hate anybody and be able to call out anybody for being weird. And then you just cut through all this nonsense about like identity. And like, I don't even like when people bring it up, it's like, I don't even care if they're a Jew. They're just being a weird person.
Yeah.
Just being a weird person. Like when you're sitting there arguing for Noahide laws on the streets of Tel Aviv while people are dancing around behind you waving rainbow flags, and then you've got like an AK-47 in your hand that you just used to shoot an Arab. I'm like, I think you have the problem, sir, not me.
Right?
I think you have the problem. You are living in a world of intellectual contradictions that you need to resolve your own self. And I will help you find a red heifer if it will help you feel better. But
right.
Chill out.
Exactly. Yeah, I totally agree.
It's so the whole Israeli and Jewish. That's why it's correctly called a spell, because when you bring it up, people just stop being able to think.
Yes,
they're just like knee-jerk reaction over and over again, just like And that's why I don't know. I just think that. And so, like years ago, this is what I get to get back to. Like years ago, I would have gotten mad about all that stuff because I would have felt like it's and it is tricks. Like it is tricks to emotionally manipulate you.
Yeah.
But and then at the same time, there is like truth behind it. Like it doesn't like all the sides of it have some degree of truth behind them. But then you also just cut through that and goes, okay, but also that doesn't matter because it's a category error. Like you don't need these new sins. Just make up reasons to be confused. Like don't hate. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not kill. Don't do that. Yeah. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Like just do those. Just that covers it. You don't need all these crazy categories that you put in there because that only causes confusion. Right, and like makes people like, but if you do that, then that's any something, and if you do, it's like, what are you talking about? It's, I don't know, it's all insane. But that's definitely why maybe in the future we should just be two Hispanic women talking about basketball.
I think that would be fantastic and a lot more fun to listen to.
I know. We'll just be the next episode is just going to be me and Oddman having transitioned both race and sex, and having learned Spanish. talking about basketball, the Lakers and the 49ers. Are those even basketball teams? I don't know nothing about it.
I
I'm
don't
pretty
either.
sure the Lakers are a team. Is the 49ers basketball?
I
They're not,
think
are
that
they?
might be foosball, but I
That's
don't
like
even watch that
that's
either.
like football, right?
I think so.
The 49ers are a
Uh,
football team. Right. I know nothing about like I don't I so don't care about organized sports. I never did, even though I played them. I was always way more into individual pursuits like wrestling, track and field,
mhm.
because I think I just felt more personal development when it was all on me to win or lose. Like if you lose in a football game, and I did play football in high school a little bit, and if you lose, then you can always blame it on somebody else, you know. Or I felt like if you felt to blame yourself, it was unnecessary. Like, well, it wasn't just me that failed, right?
Mhm.
But like on a wrestling match, it's like, well, no, it was all your fault. There's no way
Right.
the other guy was simply better, and you have to deal with that, you know, and be like, oh, I just was not the best,
Yeah.
and that's okay. Like, and we need more of that. I think, like, if that was true, the problem with intellectual pursuits is there's no like if you're in a boxing match and you get knocked out, it is clear who won, and there's no argument. In an intellectual debate or like an argument on the internet, like there's no clear winner. If there was a way to intellectually knock someone out, then the world would be a lot better.
Oh yeah.
You'd be forced to reevaluate your life.
Definitely.
I don't know.
Yeah, and it's
So,
like, oh,
yeah,
go ahead.
no, go. Just give me. We're almost done. We've almost reached our time limit. But tell me anything else you want to tell me. That is what is what is your new passion? Where are you headed? Where are you going? What justify your existence?
Ooh, I
We
don't
had,
know if I don't know if I can.
there was this woman, this little tiny Chinese woman in graduate school, and she was the wife or girlfriend of someone else, and she could just cut people down in like 5 seconds. She'd be talking to you at a party, and she'd be like, "And what is your dissertation?" And they'd explain it, like, "How long have you been working on it?" And they go, "Oh, you know, for why so long?" And you go, "Well," and you go, "Do you think it is worth doing?" And you, and
Oh no.
then like, you know, it's like, and at the end of the conversation, they
Uh,
just want to kill themselves because she would just everything. You'd be like, "Why are you taking so long to finish? It seems very simple." So
uh,
on the justify your existence. Where are you headed next? What is this about? Where is your journey taking you?
well, that's a great question. I feel a little bit like I have kind of been going through a midlife crisis, but I don't know if it's that or I've been kind of bummed out about the things I've been researching the last year or so. But it hasn't been a bad midlife crisis, if that's indeed what it is. And I have some great news that kind of was like it made me feel older, but at the same time, I'm excited about it. My daughter is due to have our grandbaby the 10th of this month, so 10 days from now. So
Oh
I'm
wow!
looking forward to that. It's giving me,
Congratulations.
thank you. It's giving me a little bit of something to look forward to because you know I get so wrapped up in this stuff and just doing the everyday family thing and the work thing that you kind of forget, well, why am I here and what's my passion? So it's nice to have something to kind of look forward to. And so that I'm looking forward to that. And I'm hoping that maybe I can finish this podcast out, a little over maybe 42 more episodes. It'll be 200 and then take a different direction. So that's my goal. And I hope
Yeah,
that I'm able to. Really want to do these other shows, and I want to do something memorable that people can go back to. Because, like I said, it's not topical, so they can go back and listen to most stuff and not feel like they're listening to an old newscast. So I hope that I can leave something out there that people will have to listen to for a long time, even if it's just a handful of people.
yeah. Man, you said you were 47,
Hmm. Yeah,
so that's a pretty early time to be a grandfather. You've got
yeah.
plenty. Yeah, I mean, most people today don't become a grandparent until like 83 and dead.
Oh, I know.
So
Yeah, yeah. Well,
that's a good.
I started having kids real young, so
Yeah, it must have been like what, like 23, 22.
22. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So 22, and then yeah, that's the good age to have them. I know a lot of people aren't ready or whatever, but you really want to be like done and they're grown and out of the house and you're like 40.
Yeah.
These
Have a
people that
little
are
bit
like
of
57 and their kids are like going into middle school, it's like, what are you doing?
right.
You know,
Yeah.
you're so behind, you know.
Yeah. I met a friend just maybe 3 months ago. Hadn't seen him in like 7, 8 years. And he is probably 53, 54. Just had his first kid. So it's like, you know,
He's gonna be dead by the time
exactly.
people don't have
Exactly.
any knowledge. People do not realize that they will die and soon.
Right.
You know, like
Exactly.
you're listen, listener, you're probably gonna be dead soon. You know,
Yeah.
that's the overall message here, isn't it? Isn't
Yes.
that the overall message that so you need to like get on it if you're gonna do something. 53 and your first baby is a crazy person.
Hmm. Yeah.
I don't what are you even thinking about? You know, you should be a grandparent by then several times over. Lauren Boebert, the weird carnival whore who
Oh,
is a
yeah.
senator, she's like a grandmother and she's like 37.
Oh, wow.
And that's the way
Wow.
to do it
Okay.
because she's a
Yeah.
senator,
Yeah.
right? How can you be more successful? She's getting groped at Beetlejuice the theater and on infrared camera at 37 and is a senator. That's the path to success in America. Is to just be
Amen.
just trailer park max.
Yes.
Everything else is a failure. You don't see people having two kids at a reasonable age and then getting a vasectomy becoming senators, do you? No, you
New.
don't. You don't see people making good decisions rising to positions of power in this country. You see people having brain aneurysms, almost dying, unable to speak words, freezing in front of the camera, and squeezing out babies when they're 19, becoming the rulers of this country. So that's what you need to do. That's the message of today, I think. I don't know. Where can people find you, Odd Man?
So you can find me at _ the odd man out on Twitter and Instagram. And in the profiles, it's got the links to my other stuff, like my Facebook. And I've got a video channel on BitChute and a few other things. So yeah, check me out there. And the podcast is The Odd Man Out. Excuse me, it's the Oddcast featuring the Odd Man Out. So yeah, check that out. It's on
There you go.
pretty
And
much everything.
we will give you this recording so you can post it there if you would like
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
as your own show as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Just to spread it around, spread around whatever this stupid thing is we're all spending our time doing.
Yeah.
Uh, and can people support you monetarily in any way? Not that they will, because our listeners are greedy.
Understood. Yeah. Well, if they want to check me out on Patreon, it's patreon.com/the odd man out.
Yeah. So listeners, while you pull over to support this, while you pull your car over to get your card out, go ahead and you have the money. You have the money. We know that you do. You're just lazy. If you could flip your hand through the air and there was an app that tracked it and it sent money to us, you would do that. You just don't want to get your card out and sign up for another thing, which I get, but do it anyway. Do it anyway. Man, it was great to have you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, man. I really appreciate it. I'd love to talk again sometime in the future.
I hope I didn't distract you. If you wanted to go on a huge anti-Semitic rant and I prevented it, I'm sorry. I should let free speech happen.
No, I can do that on my own show anytime. So
yeah, that's what you wanted to do. I don't think that's what you wanted to do, but if it was, I should let free speech happen. I think we should, you know what we should do is we should just get those two Hispanic women talking about basketball. We just need to make really, really sure they're racist.
There was a time when the Blue Ridge Mountains burst into color, when falling leaves glowed crimson and gold, and the cool breeze reminded us to slow down and take it all in. There was a time when nature's beauty was the main event, paired with the beauty that grew within every connection and golden memory shared together. It was a vibrant time. It was fall, this fall, at Biltmore. Plan your visit or overnight stay today.